odd circles in there are showing the marks from the pilot on our spot face. That's why we're going to take our base and turn it so those pilots, if they come through, they hit the slot, not the table. You'll see that on some of the other mills as well. On this mill, I lowered the quill. You can do that. You'll discover real quick. Remember that bolt up here? The quill's down, you can't get to your bolt. Right? This is what I call, well, that's our angle device for our dial indicator. The setup that I have it with, and that extra little bend in the dial indicator, are called dog leg, because that's the shape of it. You have to get the mill into neutral. Sometimes you even have to hold it so it'll spin freely. And the dial's desire, get this table up, get it on 0. Right now I'm at the front. I'll call this my 6 o'clock position. When I move it around to 12, that should be on 0. That tells me the head spindle is 90 degrees to the table in that vertical Y plane. If I go side to side, my 3 o'clock, my 9 o'clock position, I may need to reset that dial. It doesn't always read 0 all the way around. So if I'm doing left to right, my vertical X plane, I ought to be 0 here, spin it over here, and still be 0. This one is off by 3 thousandths. So that one we don't want to use. Now what happens if that is off by 3 thousandths and we do use it? This block has been machined. 2 passes with a fly cutter. When I reach across that block, you can actually see the surface, and you see that fine line down the center? That shows me there's 2 passes. It's a pretty wide cutter, but it's 2 passes. If my head were tilted that 3 thousandths, I'd be able to run my fingernail across this and feel a notch right where those 2 pieces came together, right where those 2 passes were. Because that tilting is now like siding on a house. All right? You should be able to feel this, not feel any notch at all. Which is why we tram it. Okay? Be careful when you're using a dial indicator. You can crank this table up, just bend that thing over. I'm also careful about how deep I go with that foot on the dial indicator. It's barely reading at all. You can have this up high enough that every time you go around it falls into that slot. And then you got to pick it, and go over and fall in the next slot, and pick it, and go. You don't need to be that high. All right. The other thing with the dial indicator, that little foot on there screws on. If it's loose and you spin this around, as you spin it, it might screw itself tighter or looser. There goes your accuracy, because it's moving that foot up or down. Okay? These 4 bolts control the head tilting left and right. That vertical X plane. 3 bolts on this side control the head leaning forward and back, our vertical Y plane. And we've also got a nice little gear or 2 that help us move it when we want to. We snug them up a little bit so that when we tram it, it's not flopping around. And then we get it close to where we want it. We snug them a little tighter, check it, adjust it, snug them a little tighter. And then when we got it perfect, we make it real tight. Our tolerance on that, so you remember from the midterm, total movement of this needle, 1/1000th of an inch. Tolerance within 0.0005 inches, 1/2 thousandth. Okay? Questions? All right. As you're going, final detail, as you're working on your wheel guards, you're going to finish the outside edge with a nice brushed finish that you get from the belt sander. You're going to hold her against the sander, my hand's the belt, and you're going to try and do as much of a single pass as you can for your final sanding, and you'll come up with a nice finish like that. Inside, as long as that's clean and not all banged up, you can just clean that off and hand sand it. We don't have to take that to the 6-inch. We don't want to make that anything thinner than we have to. We do want to have those edges cleaned up though. This one's pretty good. This one, good practice piece. It's got a little burn in it and all that stuff. You get it cleaned up, we got a coat of paint on it. You won't know it wasn't one piece to begin with. Questions? Okay, we're working till 6 today, and we're working to start 8 tomorrow.